Well, hey everyone, welcome to Church Tech.Life. My name is Michael and this is Phil. This is a podcast for tech guys, by tech guys. We do this for you. We're technical directors at church, just like you, and we've got a really cool episode for you guys. Hey Phil, how's it going?
Doing pretty good. How are you this week?
I am good. I got steroid shots on my foot, and I just feel like a new man. I can run now.
Well, you know what they say.
Don't do physical exercise because it's bad for you.
Run through someone's mind, don't run through someone's street.
That's it.
I don't know. I made that up.
Every Church Tech Life podcast, we like to start with a Bible verse. Phil, hit us with it. What do we got?
So our verse this week is going to come from 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 1. This is Paul talking. He says, "Be imitators of me as I am of Christ." That's a challenge that I want to give each one of us as tech directors. Let's be somebody not only as we lead our followers or as we're leading our volunteers, but also let's be somebody that's worth following as we point people to Christ.
Yeah. It's really easy to forget about leading people and working with people because we have all this gear and we have a mission for Sunday morning, whether it be running lights, running sound, running cameras, running graphics. And it's really easy to forget about leading people because they need this. Is a lot of times this is the only ministry they serve in, so it's up to us as tech directors to lead them spiritually. Yeah,
this is something I'm becoming more and more passionate about. God died for the church. God did not die for your soundboard.
So Phil this month was in North Dakota helping out a small church with their tech setup, doing a lot of cool things. Phil, do you want to introduce that for us?
Yeah, so this is one of my buddies. We actually went to college together. He was one of my roommates for a little while, and he's got more stories on me than most people in this world. So no one's allowed to talk to him except for me. So with that in mind, while I was up in North Dakota, so he's pastoring 2 churches up there right now, which is pretty interesting. So a little while back, I went up there and we did an install at one of his churches. So we got the install in. Everyone loved it. It was great. I think we talked about it a little bit in the interview, but shortly after we got that install done, he had somebody outside of the state, somebody down in North Carolina, I believe, that called and said, "Hey, we would like to do the upgrade technology to your other church as well." So I jumped back on an airplane, flew back up there, and we installed the other system. So we've got 2 systems in there. And one of the things that we kind of talked about was what does this look like from a pastor's view, from especially a church plant? Because they've got one church that's established and has been there for a bunch of years, and then they've got one church that they just planted that's 20, 30 miles away from the other church. And those 2 churches, one of them's a very old church in an older building, and one of them is a brand new church start inside of a shopping center almost. So what was the planning like? What was his thoughts like? Somebody that's non-technical, coming to somebody that is technical, asking the questions, and then holding everything to budget. I was shocked at this. So I don't want to give away too much, but before we get into the video, but one of the things that we saw were everybody was telling him that his budget was way too low. Now, he's dealing with a church that is 15 to 20 people at one of his buildings and 25 to 50 in another building. They don't have the resources or the money to come in and do something that would be multi-thousands of dollars, especially, tens of thousands of dollars to do an upgrade. But those churches need help, and those churches need guidance, and those churches need somebody to come in and help that's kind of fighting for them. So we went in, we teched it out, and honestly, we did most of the install gear-wise for about $6,000. I would like to say this also, and we're not affiliated with any of this. So we'll talk about brands. We're going to talk about Behringer. You're going to hear a lot about a DBX drive rack. We take no money from these people. Everything is our own opinion. We don't get any sponsorship from them. We've not asked for any sponsorship. They're not giving us any money. They're not paying for anything from this. This is our honest opinions, our honest conversations. And so I wanted to get Ian with me. sit down and have an interview with him, and just kind of have somebody that can give you a different perspective of what he's looking for, what's going on, what was in his mindset, and kind of some of the struggles that he had being way up in North Dakota, doing a church plant and trying to figure out technology and trying to figure out all the boundaries and stuff around that.
Cool. I'm really looking in forward to this episode. Let's go ahead and check it out. Let's hit it.
Let's check it out.
So I'm here with Ian. He's the pastor of the two churches that we were looking at earlier today. We are up here in the thriving metropolis of North Dakota. So
very thriving, very metropolis-y.
Wow, say that 10 times fast.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So this is not a real big town. He does pastor a couple of smaller churches that are up here in this area. And one of the things that he was running into issues on is just trying to find a system that would kind of fit their needs, but also maintain a budget that would also kind of work with their church. Mm-hmm. So I kind of want to talk about that for a second. Is whenever you were dealing with budget, what kind of were you looking at? Where were you for each one of the churches? We've actually done 3 installs. I did one in South Carolina. I did one in South Dakota for you, and I did 2 here in North Dakota. So when we were looking at budget, I don't remember much about budget that we talked about in South Dakota. I do remember the budgets here since they were more recently. Mm-hmm. But so we can kind of group all this stuff together and kind of talk our way through it. But what were you looking at for whenever you were trying to design a system and that type of stuff? What were you hearing? What were you looking at? What were you thinking?
Right. Well, I think the biggest thing was all 3 churches, it was to be under that $8,000 mark. Actually, to get as close to that $6,000 mark as we could. And it was just, when I would call vendors or I would look online and look at different things, it was astronomical in price.
Well, and define that. So what would you consider astronomical? I mean, were you looking at $100,000 for a church your size, or?
No.
Okay.
Probably 20 to 25.
Okay.
I did make a phone call to a vendor that you and I both know. And when I got in contact with them, I told them I was looking for a smaller system. Matter of fact, I was looking for a portable system at that time because we were coming to this part of the country to plant churches. And he quoted me, it was roughly $22,000, which was way out of our price range.
Yeah, and just, I mean, for some of y'all hear $22,000. Some of y'all are like, man, that's a lot of money. And it is a lot of money. I'm not going to, go against that. But whenever you're dealing with sound and technology, that's really a drop in the bucket.
Very much so.
So talking with a vendor and them throwing out a $22,000 price, they probably think they're helping you out.
Absolutely.
So from their perspective, it really wasn't malicious. So they weren't trying to take advantage of you. They just didn't understand.
Right. Well, and they deal, I think most of these vendors deal with larger churches where you're talking anywhere from $80,000 to $200,000 for what they're looking to do. We have less in our sound system than some of these churches have in microphones.
Yeah, you do.
I know that you and I have had a conversation. 4 microphones, $5,000 to $7,000. We got an entire system with 5 microphones for less than $8,000, less than $7,000. So, in my opinion, we won in the big scheme of things.
Now, let's also put some definition behind what we're also talking about. So, when we talk about church sizes, the church in South Dakota, we're not going to name names at this point. What is the average that you were running when we did the install, and what was the average you started running shortly after the install? Or is that about the same?
We were probably running about 60, 65 when you did the install. And then after the install, we were probably running close to 80.
Okay.
Maybe 85.
So, and then to put this in perspective, most churches in the United States, do you know what the average size church is in the United States?
Under 150.
Okay, so under 150 is the normal, whatever normal means, is the normal size church.
Yeah.
So would that church kind of fit inside of that category?
Normal size?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say it fit in the normal size.
And with me flying up, so I came up from New Mexico at that time to
Correct.
South Dakota. And I think the entire install, including me and the groceries I ate, because you and I
Made a
threw
lot of
down a couple of
groceries.
times.
Oh,
Yeah. we were right around, what, 8,000, 8,500?
Roughly, yeah, 82 to 8,400, I guess.
All right.
Right there in that ballpark.
So now let's move up into North Dakota.
Okay.
Well, and so all of the systems were pretty much the same, with the exception of some small stuff we upgraded.
Well, yeah, and the other thing was like just the quality of it.
All right.
To me, that was a big deal. Is too many of the smaller churches or normal sized churches, because we hear the $20,000 or $25,000 instead of looking the way I looked, the way we looked, they'll just put out junk. And to me, that's not being a good steward of God's money. Because back to South Dakota, I called you about a system. You told me to go digital. And I said, well, I'm going to present it to the church and we'll see what they come back with. And present it to the church. And they said, this is how much we're willing to spend, which was a fraction. And you said, okay, well, you can call me back in 6 months.
I was wrong.
4 months later,
4 months later.
and I called you, and we wound up going with a different system. And I understand why they felt the way they did. Most of us don't understand technology the way
Right.
you do. I just don't know how to get that to that.
Yeah. And let me also just kind of preface this. The situation he was in there is the same situation I hear in a lot of other from a lot of other churches as well. And it is we all call it the resident expert that you have inside of your church, and that's somebody that's a DJ, somebody that's done sound, somebody that's kind of grown up doing some sound, has a little bit of a background with it, and they always say, I can do this cheaper, faster, easier, all that type of stuff. And typically, so when Ian called me, he was like, so here's the deal. I said, you don't have to say anything else. You got somebody in the church, they know more, they're going to do it this route because they got it cheaper. And he was like, how did you know? I was like, I hear it over and over again. You're not alone if you walk into a business meeting and that happens. That happens all over the place, and I hear it all the time. So don't realize whenever you start that, you're starting an uphill battle with that. Right. I told Ian, not a big deal. Just in 6 months, give me a call. I'm not mad. Oh, yeah. And I said, in 6 months, give me a call, and I was wrong. In 4 months, he called me, and we were ready to... All right, well, here it is. Let's update numbers. I'll get the numbers back over to you, and we'll go from there. And now there was a cost to that. Correct. Now, it wasn't my cost, but I think product went up 3%.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, actually, it's probably closer to, it's probably just over 5% because it was right after COVID. It may have been even more than that because that was right after COVID because we had been outside doing outside services. We had just come back in. You did fly in from New Mexico.
And boy, were my arms tired.
I'm telling you. and it was, you know, that's the thing. It did go up not a little bit. I mean, it was enough that
we had to cut a couple of things.
Yeah, we did. Right.
I mean, that really is okay whenever we all came down to it.
We found packages. Instead of buying 4 or 6 mics, we found there were 2 mic Sennheiser system. You know, you get 2 Sennheisers. It was less than $1,000.
Those are the same mics that you have in one of the churches here.
Correct.
We had those in South Dakota as well, and this was the same microphones that he wanted when we started talking about this system up here.
Correct.
So, okay.
Absolutely.
So that's a good transition. So let's just go ahead and transition to the church up here, just so that you kind of understand where we're starting from. Let's say, where did we start from on this one?
I would say we started from the Stone Age. I would go back to like caveman days. We had two PV speakers, non-powered, and we had I think it was a Yamaha amped board that if you touched it would spark and short.
Well, that was at South Dakota, wasn't it?
Well, there was one in South Dakota, but there was also one here.
Really?
Yeah, I pulled that out right before you came. Matter of fact, it was the amp we used at the other church.
Okay.
That you hooked up
Yeah.
to get us by temporarily till we got the new system there.
Because whenever I got here, you were using that small PA on a stick
Yeah,
with a microphone.
yeah.
So,
Which was better than what we had. It was 100 times better than what we had.
oh my goodness. So, and then you had a lapel mic, or did you have a headset?
I
before?
had a headset,
All
but
right.
it was a single ear headset, and it wasn't a good quality mic.
Sure.
You get a little pop and a little short in it. We had two handheld with it had a 1/4 inch jack that had a receiver, and it was a Bluetooth mics. They were JBLs. They actually weren't bad sounding mics. The only issue you had is if you did not, you had to charge it, but you didn't know you had to charge it because it had a cap that was over it, and we couldn't figure out why we weren't getting power. And I'm looking through it, and I finally figured out it's because I didn't charge it.
Well, that, and you couldn't separate the volume off of them.
Correct.
So if you had one person that was singing or talking louder than the other person,
You're canceled out.
yeah. So your volume fader was just move your microphone away from your mouth a little
Exactly.
bit. All right. So that's where we started out with at the first church here in North Dakota.
Correct.
All right. So we had a few non-negotiables that we kind of talked about. There was some stuff that you said, this is what we want. Okay, great. So let's start building a package off of the wants. And then we'll add, so I called that kind of the foundation, or, I kept on calling it the cake. And then we'll add the icing on top of that to make it, to kind of customize it for the room. So some of the non-negotiables, if I remember right, one of them was you wanted to stay digital and you really wanted to stay Behringer because your sound guy already knew how to run
Correct.
the Behringer ecosystem.
That's right.
Okay. So then we also wanted, was the stage box non-negotiable, or did we kind of go back and forth on that a little bit?
To me, the stage box was non-negotiable because it centralized everything. It was
All right.
on stage. It made the stage cleaner.
Yeah.
It made it a lot cleaner. And and the thing is, being a smaller church, you don't have a lot of stage space. To me, it just cleans it up more. That was definitely a non-negotiable. The other thing was the headset mic.
Yeah.
That was a non-negotiable.
And you want a double ear.
I wanted a double.
You killed me on that double ear thing.
Yeah, I can't stand even tonight at the other place. Putting that thing right here, the single ear drives me crazy because I got big ears.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know.
All right, so we went to a double ear. Then you wanted the Sennheiser handhelds, and that was hard because we really had to massage the budget
Yes.
to make that one work.
Correct.
So,
But the thing is, my wife sings.
all right,
To me, it gives her better quality when she's singing, and in my opinion, she deserves that quality.
sure.
And right now, we don't have a CCLI licensing agreement, but once we get it, it's going to be a cleaner sound for her online, and to me, it's more presentable.
Sure.
So yeah, that was definitely non-negotiable, and we had to have a floor monitor,
Yep.
a wedge. That was, and see, I didn't understand all that because I don't sing. I don't. I mean, I love to sing, but nobody likes to hear me sing.
Yeah, we mute whenever you get up to sing.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mute when you get up to preach sometimes too.
I don't blame you. I would too. But I didn't understand my wife couldn't hear the music. I didn't understand how important it is when you sing to hear the music. I'm like, what do you mean you can't hear the music? I didn't hear the music. But then when I walked up there one day, she was practicing, and I was standing where she would normally stand. I'm like, how do you even hear that? She's like, I can't.
Well, so that is because y'all have canned music for your worship.
Correct.
So what she was hearing was the sound would go to the back wall, and then come back. So she's a little bit behind the beat with things, and it's a little bit hard to get things in. And then also there's no highs, there's no clarity whenever it comes back in, so it's a little bit muddy coming back into it as well.
Well,
So,
but the other thing is the first church here in North Dakota. It is a very live room. We have a pretty large online following.
yeah, I want to get into that too.
Okay. But the thing about it was you couldn't, I mean, we were recording, but it was terrible. The audio was horrible. And all you could hear
How
was
were
the
you
echo.
recording? This is the interesting thing. Yeah.
Well, a cell phone with it was a knockoff Apple mic.
Was it a mic like what we're wearing now, or was it?
It was similar to it.
All right.
But then I had the headset mic on too. So everything you would hear, it was just, you'd hear it and then you'd hear it.
Yeah.
And it was almost like it was coming over the top of each other. And it was like, I don't even know how people could listen to this.
But you did have people listening. This is
Yeah.
the crazy thing. So,
Yeah.
all right, let's talk numbers for just a second, and then we'll keep on going on the system, because this is what we kind of looked at and we went, wait a second, let's stop here and let's build up the quality on your mix or in your stream, because this was extremely important for us.
Right.
So you're running about how many people, or whenever you first got here and we started talking about the system, what were you running in the main building?
18 to 20.
All right. So your online presence, while you're running 18 to 20 in your building, what was your online looking like?
350.
Which is nuts. So we were like, all right, so you could pick up like every other word that you were saying whenever you were on Facebook.
Yeah.
And it was echoey and nothing was really cleaned up. The quality just was not there, but you got a ton of people watching.
Right.
And so when we did the upgrade, we were able to tie all that stuff in. So now your microphone's going through the system and we're getting all of that stuff there. A better camera instead of a cell phone 15 feet away from you or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then here lately, what is your online numbers been running?
We've hit as many as 520, and we probably average close to 400.
Yeah.
It's gone up. I mean, and it's a lot clearer.
And that's just one church, or is that both of the churches combined?
That's one church.
All right.
Our attendance has gone up as well at the church, but it's people came to me afterwards. We have several. We have an older congregation, okay, and we have some people that are very hard of hearing.
What?
Exactly. And the one guy came to me. He said, "This is the first time in 22 years that I've sat in a service that I could hear and understand it. I understood everything that was being said. I could hear it clearly." And to me, that was mad props to the system and to you, because the thing is, it's not loud.
Right.
It's not overpowering. It's not bassy. It's not tinny. It's not. It's just you. It's sitting here having a conversation. It's listening to music and hearing it clearly. And
Well, and I can give those numbers. So whenever he's preaching, or whenever we just have spoken word, it's running somewhere between 62 and 62 to 67 dB inside of the room.
okay.
Whenever you're doing music, you're only running like 75 to 80. I mean,
Right.
so now to give you an idea, at my church that I run at, we stay between 85 and 92. Most churches that have live bands or something like that on stage, they're going to be pushing, that 85 to 92 range in there. For what y'all have, you're not running very loud, which is good,
Right.
because that helped us overcome some of the echo and some of the issues that we had.
Right.
And the secret sauce on that we used was the drive rack.
drive rack.
Yeah. So that was my non-negotiable. So
Right.
because you were like, "Can we leave this off?" And I said no. But that it was
I
in
was
the
saying between that
$630s.
$600 and $700 range, and that's what I'm saying. I'm thinking, man, we get more mics, we can get a better camera, we can get the most amazing part of, like, you can go inside of that church right now, and if we're sitting there having a conversation just like this, you're going to hear an echo.
Yeah.
When I put the microphone on, there's no echo. That blew my mind.
There is an echo. Now, so
But I don't
get
hear it.
No, and that's fine. I just because some of the guys that are going to watch this, some of the people that are going to watch this, they are technical minded. Yes, there is an echo, but the echo stays all up inside of the. It's a pretty high ceiling, so that echo stays up inside of the ceiling. What stays down low is just clarity, which is one of the things that I really like about the DBX.
Right.
We're not doing anything weird like a line array system or anything like that. We literally have some powered alto speakers. They're ABS plastic speakers. They're powered 12s.
And 1.8.
1.8 for a monitor, for a wedge monitor.
Yeah,
So-
and my wife says that she can hear well. And to me, it blows my mind because I think you did it and our sound guy's done it. Monitor working, and I'm like, I don't know. I can't tell because it blends so well. My wife can hear it plain as day. I can hear it, but I'm like, I don't know if that's coming through the house or the monitor.
Yeah.
But
so
it's
the
clear.
the house I tied into the DBX. The monitor I did not. That DBX, we actually ran that, and we did that 2 or 3 times the first week that I was here because whenever I first got out here and we set it up, it was like it was cold. It was in the 30s.
Yeah.
Then the next day it was like 7. And then the next day, like Sunday, it was like -20 or something like that. I really don't remember, but it was cold. And it kept on dropping. And whenever I walked in there, I was like, I'm going to have to rebalance this room because the temperature was changing so much.
And it was snowing.
Yeah, it was snowing.
Yeah. Yeah, it was crazy.
So that was one of the benefits to having the DBX is you can have a systems engineer kind of dial that in for you to help you whenever you have changing environments inside of your church without actually having a systems engineer come in and change it out. All you have to do is just walk right through the wizard and get that to change out. So now let's move on to, so we got the microphones. I think that's everything on that church, isn't it?
Yeah.
We got a camera put in there for that same price.
Yeah.
The computer, was the computer already there? Or did you buy the computer with that same price?
Computer was already there.
Okay.
And the camera was already there.
Okay.
Yeah, we picked the camera. I'll just be perfectly honest with you. The first church in South Dakota, the church there is the exact same camera, $100 camera.
Yeah.
And it was nuts because my dad called me one Sunday. He's like, I don't understand what you guys are doing, but the sound quality and the picture quality is better than any of the big churches down here in Florida.
Good.
And I kind of chuckled, and he's like, what kind of camera do y'all have? I'm like, well, what you do is you go to Walmart and you buy their high-end $100 camera.
Yeah.
And it's got, I mean, it really does. It has pretty decent quality for $100. You can't beat it.
Yeah. It's a great starting spot.
Yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely.
Especially for a church plant, a small church that's wanting to get online, just wanting to get some stuff out there. It's a great starting spot.
Right.
So, all right. So, computer was already there. Camera was already there. We just had to wire it in there, get everything run. Speaker mounts, mounted it to the side of the walls, and your headset mic. So, and then just solve some problems. So now the new church. So that's why I'm back up here.
Yeah.
So,
3 months. Every 3 months, once a quarter, you're here, man.
we were able to alleviate some of the non-negotiables on this one, but we still held on to some of the non-negotiables. So one of the non-negotiables was we're going to stay with the Behringer X32 Ecosphere.
Right.
But instead of doing the compact like we're doing at the first church, the first 2 churches, we moved to a producer, and that was so we could put it inside of a rack. And we wanted it inside of a rack, and then that way it could be a little bit portable.
Right.
Why did we want that to be portable?
Because right now we're renting a space. At any point, we could rent that space to somebody, or we could leave that space to go to another. The goal is to outgrow that space.
Yeah.
You roll up 2 Cat 5 cables, 2 Cat 6 cables. You wind up the speaker wire. You pull the speakers. You grab the monitors. You grab the pulpit, and the stage is even is built to take out. I'd say we could have the entire sound system packed up in less than 30 minutes.
So, and before you became the pastor of this church, you were like a systems engineer working on big church systems and audio, right?
No, never.
So you don't have a background in doing any of this stuff,
Right.
but you would feel comfortable going, okay, I know how to like pack everything up, and would you feel comfortable resetting it back up by yourself?
For the most part, yeah. I mean, there may be
Like if you went from one building to another building.
Yeah. The beauty of it is everything is run on the stage, and 2 cables run to the back, one for the TV, and one for the
Stage
the
box.
stage box that's there, and that's it. You unhook a cable, you roll them up, you shut the thing up. It's a sound booth. The beauty of it is it's a roll around sound booth. All your cabling stays on the inside of it. Everything's right there. You close it up. The other one is a gator that you close up both ends of the box, and it's on wheels. It's like a piece of luggage you roll around. The hardest thing would be moving the 65-inch TV and the lighting, if we pulled the lighting.
He did a whole bunch of smart lights that you can just run right off your cell phone, to be honest with you. And you can just change the color of it. It stays static the entire time. It's not like he's down there during worship service changing it or anything.
I could,
but it just kind of, yeah, you could. Just one at a time with each other.
Awesome.
But it gives you the ability to have a little bit of a different environment. Mm-hmm. So it just kind of adds some interest in the background that's back there. Yeah. So the X32 was a non-negotiable, and then my non-negotiable was
DBX drive rack.
DBX drive rack. So you kind of sense a trend off of that.
Right.
But we were able to alleviate some of the non-negotiable of the microphones on this one, weren't we? I had to fight you on this, didn't I?
Not really.
Not really. It really wasn't hard.
To think that we got 4 mics, 1 receiver, which is 4 receivers, for less than $200.
Yeah.
And
with cabling.
And I would say, and I'm not a singer, so, but to me they sound just as good as the Sennheisers. Now you may hear a difference, my wife may hear a difference, you guys hear different things than I hear. But overall, I actually thought they were SM58 mics. I really did. When I first pulled them out, I'm like, they sent the wrong mics. I'm sure it's not high-end quality, but I wouldn't shy away. And the thing is, for $170, if somebody drops a mic, I spent $170, and now I have, for $350, I have 7 mics.
Yeah. So they're the Phoenix Pros. They're a little bit compressy, which is one of the things I don't like about them. So I don't think I would use them, and I wouldn't have recommended them for you if you were doing a band. I think you and I have talked about this. Canned music right now, a good announcement mic, a good honest church plant, a good small church. They're a great little microphone that you don't have to break the bank on and keep on moving forward. And he brings up a good point. He doesn't hear the difference. The majority of people sitting inside of your auditorium do not hear the difference. Mm-hmm. And we're spending thousands and thousands of dollars on equipment that nobody hears the difference about. And churches are struggling, and then they're going out and they're buying this cheap DJ equipment that's not really any good because they think that they have to spend $1,000 on a microphone or something, when really there's some other options that are out there. So I do recommend these Phoenix Pro mics. I really do like them, but I do like them within some constraints. So if you've got questions, put it down inside the comments. Love to kind of talk with you about that, and I'll try to help lead you and guide you in that if you'd like to. So, but we went to the Phoenix Pros, but we also changed your headset microphone.
Yeah, at the other church, other 2 churches.
Yeah.
I did the Line 6, which to me was a pretty good pack. But then we ordered a different mic.
Yeah.
to go with it, which is big. I wanted the flesh tone mic. They don't do flesh tone anymore. It's just
With the Line 6, they don't do it.
Right, with Line 6. It's just the standard black. And we were looking at doing, I think it was a Thor. And then we wound up going with something a little bit different. I wanted to go with the Line 6 there too because I've used them.
Yeah.
And to me, it's like, if I get used to using something, I just stick with it. You know, creature of habit. But we didn't have that option in the budget.
Yeah. So that was something that had to kind of give just a little bit so that we can make room for something else.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Keep on going.
Right. So we wound up going with a Samson. I can't remember which Samson it was.
I'll link it in the description. I'll actually put a picture up on it right now.
Yeah, it was a single ear, and it sounds good.
Yeah.
It's got pretty good quality. You know, you don't have the digital readout telling you the battery life and all this. And I figured something out. You know, you would think that a tech guy like yourself would have let, you know, a guy that's not tech savvy like myself know that every 2 weeks you change the batteries.
I can't give you all my secrets.
So I figured out now every 2 weeks you change out batteries. But overall, I mean, it's a quality sounding mic. I mean, it's not high end, but it's quality for what we're doing.
Yeah.
You know, and the other thing, you know, back to those Phoenix Pros, if we were putting on a kids program, I'd let a 3-year-old run around with that mic.
Absolutely.
And I'm not worried about it's going to set us back. And I know that I can get it ordered and have it within probably a week.
Yeah.
You know?
And if y'all do start doing a band, you can always grab that and throw it in with your children's ministry as that grows up, or with your youth ministry or something. So you still got places for those to move to.
Right.
So, and it's 4 microphones.
4 mics, man.
Man, it was crazy. I'm actually using these same ones. I've got 2 sets of them that I've got at our church.
Right.
Now we use them for our overflow area. So they're used for announcements and that type of stuff like that. That was kind of what keyed us off on these Phoenix Pros is I started using them up there, and I was like, Ian, dude, you need to check these things out. I think you'll be happy with them. Whenever he got the stuff in, he unpacked everything, and I was like, how you like those mics? He was like, I haven't checked them out. I was like, check them out. I want to know. And then, because I was interested in what he thought. The reason we kind of moved away from making that a non-negotiable was because we added a computer on this one.
Correct.
So our budget was 75, 8,000, something like that.
It was 8,000, but it was 8,000, and that was including flying you up here,
And a camera.
and
A computer.
and $500 incidental.
Yeah. Which I don't even think
we get into. We may have spent $75 to $100 on it.
Yeah. Now the other church up here, we went into that incidental pretty
just
good.
a little bit.
Yeah. But that was, so this does bring up a good point. It's just kind of knowing where you're at and that type of stuff like that. There's, how many music stores are in this town? I mean, 20, 30? Zero. So I needed 2 3-foot XLR cables.
Yep.
Just so we could tie the stage box into the DBX. And those cost us
$300.
No, it was like $75 for the 2 cables.
Oh yeah. I was thinking we had to buy another one from the other store, and that was $150. Yeah.
And then we had to get the 1/4 inch.
Yeah.
And then, so kind of know where you're at with things, and just kind of make sure that you spend some time to draw stuff out whenever you're doing this setup, because that was costly for us. That was a mistake, and that was costly for us.
Yes,
so
very much so.
And even on this install, even though the new church that we just did, we still had to. I still had to jump on Amazon and pick up a couple of things we forgot.
Yeah.
So I do always recommend getting with somebody that you know, that you trust, that will shoot with you straight. We went from, I'm just going to use round numbers. We went from $20,000 all the way down to $8,000. This church, the church you're at, the second church here, he pastors both churches, the first church here in North Dakota and the second church. The second church, your online presence before I got here or before we did this install, but it kind of grew a little bit more after we did the first church, didn't it?
Yeah.
So, what are those numbers like?
So we were running anywhere from, I don't know, 10, 12 to, I think I looked right after the service tonight. I don't remember. Do you remember the number I told you? Yeah.
14, 15?
Yeah, it may have been 15 or 8. I mean, I think it was 18.
Okay.
But then I'll go back and look at it probably tomorrow, and there'll probably be as many as 100, 120.
So that brings up a good point, okay? So 120, and we're just speaking in round numbers right now.
Right.
So all of those are like from people from like all out in Florida or Hawaii or something, right?
No.
So those 120, would you say 70%, 80% of them are local?
I'd say probably closer to 85. And when I say local, I mean, so within 45 miles, which 45 miles here is not very far.
Yeah.
So you figure within 45 miles, yeah, I'd say probably 85%. And, yeah, I do have people, like I've got some friends in South Africa that watch. I have some friends in Florida that watch. But generally speaking, and that's another thing too, is so originally everything was on it was set up as like a 60-second view, I think is how we did it. Well, now it's set up as a play, so it's from start to finish. So if you don't watch it from start to finish, you're not even included in the count. If you watch half of it, you're not included in that count. So in all actuality, we could quite possibly have double what we actually are seeing.
Right.
Because the way it's set up now is it's considered a play. So for it to count, it has to be the entire service, the entire sermon.
Excellent.
Which, to me, is big, and those numbers actually went up, which really blew my mind.
Yeah.
And
it's because they could hear every word instead of every third
other
word or so.
Yeah, exactly. But I think too, I think we're on to something we don't even know we're on to, and that is, we've got to figure out how to start a church with this. Because there are people, whether they can't make it due to health issues or whether it's due to they have anxiety. I don't know. But we got to figure
just snow.
Yeah, or
Hey,
snow.
we're in North Dakota, dude.
You never know. Yeah. Yeah.
Snow in July.
Yeah. August, September, October, yeah. But I think we have to figure out how to connect with those people.
Yeah.
If we can get to where we can connect with those people and have an online presence that way, I do feel like people need to be in a part of the body. I think God, when the church was created, it was created that way for a purpose. For us to have fellowship together and have fellowship with Him. But I also realize that whether I like tech or I don't like tech, tech has a place.
You don't like tech.
I do not like tech. Because I don't understand it.
Sure.
But I'm smart enough to realize, Paul said, I became all things so that I may reach, all things to all people so I may reach some. Well, if that's the case, then isn't that what we ought to be doing? And but the other thing is quality. Why do we want to put out junk? I think that's the part that drives me nuts with churches. And I understand we want to be a good steward of God's money. We do.
Yeah.
And we want to stay inside of a price point. I understand that. But if we're going to do it, we need to put out quality. It doesn't need to be John. I'm not saying we need to be First Baptist Dallas or whatever. But what I am saying is this. It needs to be the best we have.
Sure.
The best we can do. And I think everything that we do, we may not be professional, but we need to do it with excellence. And that's, to me, is the one non-negotiable.
Yeah.
If we're not going to do it with excellence, we're not going to do it. When the tread is gone and the steel belts are showing on the tire, it's time to get a new tire, dude. And too many times we just want to keep driving on it. And it's like, man, it's not going to work. And then we can't understand why people are looking at us going, you guys don't even really care. I mean, you're going to buy all this stuff for your house, but you're going to put it in God's house?
And that's not even me saying it. That's him.
That's it.
So now what we've got is, you said that probably tomorrow you'll be running 120.
Yeah.
A week from now, how many views do you think you'll have on that same video?
170, 160, 170. The other church, it could go up exponentially. That part right there is blowing my mind. I remember.
And that was your focus the whole time, was to start an online church when you came up here, right?
Never.
So this is something you're having to pivot, to transition, to figure out what to do at this point, right?
Yeah, and it's amazing to me that God is using this, the most untechnical person you will ever meet in your life.
That is the truth.
Every time I get if I were to get an iPad tomorrow, I would walk to my 18-year-old daughter and just hand it to her and say, make it work.
Or at least just turn it on.
Yeah, because I don't have a clue. In this part of the country is what blows my mind.
Yeah.
I mean, this is ranching country. This is oil country. When you came up here, we did an online test.
Yeah.
And I told you, I said, when we go online, there's going to be a bunch of people who are going to watch. And I said, this is just a test. This is me standing back there with a hoodie on in the foyer with a handheld mic going, can you hear us?
That was horrible, too, because I didn't have the audio set right. So it was like...
Right. How many people viewed it?
275, 280?
Yeah.
And that was within an hour.
Yeah.
And I was like, correct me if I'm wrong. Seriously, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm the one that pointed out your numbers to you.
Yeah.
Because you were like, we're doing what?
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, take a look at this stuff.
I mean, I'd see the numbers, but I was like, I just didn't really pay any attention. It wasn't clicking.
Yeah.
I know the other place I was at, when we got into doing some of the shorts and stuff like that, it took off. I mean, some of that stuff almost went viral. Here, I'm like, there's no way we're going to have 20,000 people watch. There's no way. There's no way we're going to have 100 people watch.
So where we're at right now, you have what, 100,000 people per mile or what?
About, well, I'll put it to you like this. The one church, the first church, there are about 870 people in that town. And we'll run, like this morning we were way down. There were people that were sick and out of town because of Father's Day.
Yeah.
We were running on a good Sunday, we'll run 50. The other place, which is 20 miles away, 25 miles between the two, it's 27,000 people. The next town that's comparable would be Bismarck, which is almost about an hour and 40 minutes away. Mm-hmm. And there's 100,000 people. But everything in between,
more cows than people?
Very much so.
Yeah.
Probably by 4 or 5 to 1.
we kind of dove into a lot of stuff in this. This hasn't just been a tech talk as opposed to a TED talk.
Yeah.
It hasn't just been that. We've also talked about ministry, what your goals are, what your vision is, and then how this stuff has impacted you. So the reason that we kind of kept on going this direction with everything was because if you would have heard that first number, $20,000, and said, nah, I don't think we're going to do that because we just can't afford to do it. So you would have stuck with everything else going on, the small portable setup and that type of stuff.
Right.
You really wouldn't have improved your online presence whatsoever. Really wouldn't have pushed on very much of that stuff. Would you have the same focus and ministry direction that you're heading at right now?
No, because of quality.
So almost a vendor that doesn't understand a small church, a small town environment, almost impacted the way how you do ministry.
Absolutely. And I think they impact the majority of the way ministry is done in churches this size.
Yeah.
Because they're not, and it's not, and I don't blame them. Like you said before, I mean, they're seeing it from a perspective. I mean, if all you know is 1,000 people auditoriums, you don't understand a 100-seat auditorium or a 60-seat or a 40-seat auditorium. You don't understand. We need quality, but we need inexpensive, not cheap. We need inexpensive. And that was something else. Is we shopped around a little bit on some different things because we actually got more equipment.
Yeah.
We got a lot more equipment at the second church than we did the first church.
So for the first church, I'm not going to say where we got everything from because I don't want to tip my hand too much on that. But one of the non-negotiables that you had was that, I say first church, the first church in North Dakota.
Right.
Was, I'm buying everything from one spot. And I was like, dude, if you'll let me do this and this, then we can. You're like, nope, I want one check.
Yeah.
So we did have our hands tied a little bit whenever that came to that. What was the thing that you think was the most inflated price-wise?
Out of everything we bought?
Out of the first church.
The food I had to pay for you. No, I'm kidding.
Dude, I require steak and lobster. It's in my rider. Sorry.
I know. Yeah, there was two things: the cabling and the mic. That when I said no, flesh tone, double ear at the end of it.
Yeah, because the first vendor tried to get you onto a DPA.
Yeah.
And you were like, I think it was like a $900 price, or I could be wrong on that.
No, you're pretty close.
And you called me and you were like, dude, the whole system's $900. I was like, no, that's the microphone.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, no, we ain't doing that. But I mean, when we got out of their mic, I think it was, because you had the belt pack, but then we went to the double ear mic. That was a couple $100.
Yeah.
But it still wasn't a Thor. It wasn't some of these other ones. But then the other thing was definitely the cabling. That blew my mind. I'm like, how can that be that expensive?
Yeah.
That to me was absolutely nuts. But then I realized that there's certain things that can be marked up, and you're just not going to argue because you think you're getting such a good deal on everything else, when in all actuality it's just going to balance out.
Yeah. So now I'll start using some names. So the second church here in North Dakota, we've got a good contact at Sweetwater.
Yes,
guy's a great guy.
Yeah.
You were able to make contact with him and say, I was very specific. We broke the list out and I said, shop this stuff with Sweetwater. So this is the stuff you took to Sweetwater. And then I said, shop this stuff at Amazon. and then shop this stuff on eBay.
That's correct.
And your wife loves me for pointing out eBay.
eBay. Love eBay. Gotta get you some eBay.
And I'll say, so most of the equipment we bought through Sweetwater.
Yes.
The racks, we bought that. Well, one of the racks, the one in front of house, we bought that one from eBay.
Correct.
And we were going to buy the stage rack from eBay, but Sweetwater had almost the same price,
But
better quality.
Yes.
So I think there was a $10 difference. You paid $10 more for it, but it was worth the $10.
And it's on wheels, and it's got a handle, and it's like luggage. It's great.
Yeah. So we went ahead and did that through Sweetwater. Cabling, we almost did exclusively through Amazon. So, because we don't need high-end cabling here.
Right.
And then I needed some looms and that type of stuff. But your all of your cat cable, did we do that through Sweetwater?
No. Well, one cat cable came with the stage box.
Oh, that's right, in the package.
Yeah, and then we bought one through
Amazon.
Amazon.
Yeah, that was for the video run.
Now the eBay, we wound up buying the computer.
Yeah.
Wound up getting a $3,000 computer for like $700.
That was, so this is interesting. It was government surplus.
Yes.
So it had only been used for a couple of years, and we just spec'd that thing out. I mean, we just maxed out the specs on it. And how much was it again?
I think it was $700.
I think you're right. For 65 gigs of RAM, 64 gigs of RAM,
Right.
2 terabyte SSD drive, and a video card inside of it. It's an HP EliteBook.
Correct.
So, so we did that, and and you're streaming with OBS,
Right.
and from OBS you're just running that right into Facebook as of right now.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is the camera. The camera we got there, that was a PTA or
PTZ.
PTZ. I think it was. I got the tripod, the camera, the cabling that came with it. I think it was $120, $110.
So with this one, we had to be a little bit. We had to gamble on this one.
Yeah.
So, and at a Southern Baptist church, I don't know if I should use the word gamble or not.
It's
but,
okay. It's all good. We have casinos up here.
Yeah, you're right. So we had to gamble on this one. It was a $125 camera.
Yeah.
And we really were saying, we're not positive of the quality of this, and I couldn't find a whole lot of people talking about it.
Right.
So we did take a shot on it. And right now, I will admit, I'm not completely happy with that camera, but I think we're going to make it, once we move it a little bit closer and do some other stuff, I think it's going to be a great thing for you. So, but even at that, so you're running really high numbers right now for your online presence. And we still just did a $125 camera. We didn't come at it and say, I want a $5,000 Blackmagic camera or something like that.
Right.
We just said, we're just going to keep this within budget and then just allow this thing to grow organically as we go.
Right. And that one was also a cell phone. And my daughter had a
gimbal.
Where it would strap on and it was hanging off of a speaker stand. And we did that for a while, for, I don't know, 5-6 months.
Yeah.
And, and that's another thing. I mean, when you're taking in enough money to pay the rent, you don't have a lot of money to be able to go out and spend $20 or $30 or $40,000 on sound. Even $8,000 was a stretch. And the fact of the matter is this, I'll just be straight up with you. Somebody called me and said, how can we partner with you? And they said, give us 3 options. I gave them 3 different options. And sound system happened to be one. And they said, what kind of price range are we talking?
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate your time to kind of walk our way through this. If nothing else, I just kind of want to be an encouragement that you don't have to break the bank to make something quality. You just need to get somebody that you can trust, that you can kind of walk your way through with on this stuff. It is obtainable. It really is obtainable to find a system, and it really is obtainable to do some stuff to get some quality inside of the church.
That's right.
So I appreciate your time, and we're going to kind of kick this back over to Michael and I and go from there. So thank you very much. I enjoyed being up here.
Awesome, man.
All right.
Thank you, bro.
Well, that was great. I really enjoyed it. I know this video has been kind of long, so we're not going to do a question and answer time after this just because it's already long enough as it is, and we want to value your time. So if you do have any questions, be sure to put it in the comments, send us an email, that kind of thing. Phil, do you have anything to say before we go?
No, I just take some of the advice that's given inside of the video. Find somebody that you can trust. We will always talk with you. So put your questions down in the bottom. If we need to, we'll even reach out to you and we'll kind of come alongside you and help you out. We are here for the churches. We are here to help support you, come alongside you. That's our heart. That's what we're about. So don't hesitate to reach out to us. Don't hesitate to engage with us because that's why we're here. Nothing would make us happier than for you to put something down in the comments and have us reach out to you.
Yeah, guys. Cool. We'll see you next month. Take care.
Have a great one.